in the fourth quarter at their backs, but they do kick it off. And the Argos will have the ball, and it's picked up by Michael O'Shea, and the former Tiger Cat. Pretty good return by O'Shea, who has heard the cat calls of angry Tiger Cat fans, and you can hear the booing as they announce his name. A North Bay product who agonized over the decision to sign with the Argos. In fact, North Bay was a territorial protected area of the Tiger Cats, so he grew up a Cats fan. The old Hamilton teams used to have training camp in North Bay. A tough decision, but here he is in the Grey Cup game.
It was a very emotional decision when he did sign with the Argos, a hated rival for years, but he wanted to come to the Grey Cup, and he has arrived.
Let's see if Flutie can stay hot as he was in the second quarter. First play of the third quarter, and he pulls it down, and Doug Flutie scrambling again. Malcolm Frank got a piece of him as Flutie downed about a yard short of a first down, and he is flexing his muscles in this one.
Well, he's calling for his big group to come in a short yardage situation, but this is a play Willie Pless is going to have to make for Edmonton on defense. They're rushing four-man. They're having combination coverage downfield. Willie's sitting in the middle spying. He just doesn't get over to make the play.
The point I want to touch on is what Ken Austin spoke about at halftime. The uneven rush lanes by Edmonton's front seven. When you have those huge gaps and you have defensive linemen rushing on planes, different levels, 2 and 3 yard separation.
Second less than a yard, close to midfield. And Big Drummond right side, and a lot more than the first down as he went across the 45, put the ball on the ground, but the whistle had blown.
Normally you have to be touched when you hit the ground for the ball to be dead at that spot. I'm not so sure that Robert Drummond got touched, but it was a great effort by the big horse to pick up the first down on the short yardage play. The offensive line has been really establishing the line of scrimmage today. Looked like he might not have got touched. He hurdled that defensive back, and that should have been a fumble. Malcolm Frank comes in. Well, he did make contact, so it is the good call by the officials.
13-yard gain. Drummond has let it slip out of his hands twice, and you saw Flutie go over to remind him. And the direct snap to Drummond again. And Robert Drummond has another first down to the Eskimo 30. So the Argos marching on their opening possession of the third quarter. Leroy Blue, Willie Pless with the tackle, but now Drummond has 7 carries and 42 yards and a touchdown in the game.
He picked up 44 last week versus Montreal, so he's well on pace to eclipse that here in the Grey Cup.
First down, Argos. Another direct snap, Drummond. And this time, the door is closed. Derek McCready, Malvin Hunter.
Well, this time Edmonton commits a couple of linebackers into the play to disallow the running lanes. He had some good running lanes with a 4-man rush. Now the linebackers get involved, and now you have 6 across the front. No place for him to slide to, and they come up and make a play on a short gain.
David, I'll also tell you what these 2 direct snaps to Drummond has done. It has now forced Edmonton to play more discipline up front in their pass rush. You saw a lot of twisting and gambling in the first half. Now they have to stay in their lanes. Look for Doug Flutie to have more time in the pocket.
2nd and 7. Everybody out for Doug Flutie, and the rush is on. And Flutie across his body throws the strike, and it's Paul Mazzotti with another catch, and Mazzotti has been an effective outlet receiver for Flutie so far. And again, Mazzotti slow to get up. 5th catch, 91 yards.
And Trent Brown came up and laid a tremendous hit on Paul Mazzotti. Trent Brown came in the training camp this year. Last year he had gained a starting position, came back this year. Once he saw that the ratio would be adjusted, he wasn't assured that he'd have a starting job. But Ronnie Lancaster assured him it was his job to lose, and Trent Brown has held on to that free safety position for Edmonton and has had a tremendous season, one of the best hitting free safeties in the CFL.
Now, the thing I marvel about the wide receivers for Toronto is how well they adjust to Doug moving around in the pocket or escaping out of the pocket. Most teams have a scramble rule. Well, they'll go with their quarterback. The receivers will go with their quarterback to help him out. And it seems like almost inevitably he finds Mazzotti, who seems to sit it down every time for him and finds an open area.
Well, Paul Mazzotti, we saw him limping in the first half. He had a leg injury, and now he's being helped off once again.
You know, Dave Sapunja's going to attest to this. A lot of talk about what kind of team guy Doug Flutie is. Well, here's an indication of the type of guy he is. He drives a long way to get a satellite dish to bring back to Arundel College. Now, he's a big money quarterback. David Archer might buy a satellite dish for his teammates too, but he spends 8 hours one day on an off day setting the thing up so his teammates can enjoy the benefits of a satellite dish during the year. He's a guy that certainly won over the support of his teammates throughout this year.
I didn't realize he was an electronics engineer.
Well, it took him 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
First down, Argos marching. And a wide open receiver, and Cunningham dropped the ball. Incomplete. It ended up back in his hands, but it did hit the snow as Kavis Reed was closing, but something happened. David, there was a breakdown in the secondary.
Well, certainly a blown coverage, and Senior Mobley was supposed, it looks like, based on what Kavis Reed is saying on the field, that he expected Mobley to come over and help him out. Hagan jams and lets him go, and there's nobody there in the scene.
What they were doing, David, was running a cut there. Hagan was going to the flat, and he was expecting Trent Brown to come over the top, and Trent wasn't there, and he was wide open. He just couldn't hold on to the football.
2nd and 10 from the 16. Flutie calls his own number again, straight up the middle. He's near the 10. And that's short of the first down.
Now, this is a point on the field where it may be a little too far to gamble, but this is what was set up by the direct snaps to Robert Drummond. Hopefully that they can catch Edmonton gambling up front once again. But that time they stayed at home. The linebackers didn't get deep drops, and they stopped him short of the first down.
So Mike Vanderjagt comes on. He'll attempt a 16-yard field goal. And again, a little housekeeping.
And Doug Flutie is down there cleaning off the turf for Mike Vanderjagt, making sure that his kicker has sure footing on his plant foot.
Vanderjagt is 3 for 3. And the Argos lead now is a converted touchdown. Less than 5 minutes gone in the third quarter. That snowy Ivor Wynne, 30-23, Argonauts. Eskimos are looking to get 4 to 5 yards on first down.
It has made things much easier for Danny McManus. He spent the most part of this year, and that's led to 27 interceptions on the season. But when you have a 2nd and medium, 2nd and short, it gives him a lot more options and makes him more comfortable in the pocket.
2nd and 6. Good protection and a strike. And Darren Flutie has his first catch of this second half. Michael O'Shea, the middle linebacker, taking Flutie to the snow.
And that's a direct reflection of that 2nd and medium. Now, that's what Darren Flutie is so effective, because he loves to work underneath. He does a great job of reading the zone coverage, knows all he has to do is break it off inside. The only thing is there is the linebackers. You got to duck a little quicker, because Michael O'Shea will take your head off.
Well, he's got a good protection. There's Donnie Wilson coming off the side. They actually had man coverage there, and he got 2 clearing routes. And Darren does such a great job of setting it down.
At the 49 of Edmonton, first down, McManus, another strike, and there is Darren Flutie into Argo territory. What were you saying, Dave?
Well, this time he gets a zone, and we always know that he's there. They're so concerned now with making sure they defend the field, because he got Eddie Brown involved. He got Jim Sandusky involved in the first half. Now Darren reads the zone. This is an option route for him. He finds a little crease and gets in the hole.
And David, what has happened is you have 2 halfbacks playing on this side of the field now. Marcelo Simmons has come in for Donald Smith on the corner, who went out on that Jim Sandusky touchdown, and now you have 2 halfbacks playing out in the flat.
First down at the Argo 45. Again, well, the protection was good, but McManus nailed. Ball is whistled dead, but Danny McManus sacked for the first time today.
And that was a coverage sack on that play. They rolled up the coverage, David.
Now they rolled up the coverage to Darren Flutie's side, Jim Sandusky's side. This is what they were so effective with against Calgary, just running a stack over there and letting those 2 guys go to work. Now Tony Burst leaks out of the backfield. He replaces the linebacker. If the linebacker gets too much width, he's supposed to dump it off there. Danny didn't find him.
And look who showed up on the sack, Don Wilson. I mean, this guy has played in 2 Grey Cups with Edmonton, 2 with Toronto, and looking to collect his 4th Grey Cup ring tonight.
Loss of 7, 2nd and 17. McManus over the middle, Eddie Brown. And Brown at the 35-yard line is close to a first down. And that should move the sticks.
Well, you want to talk about a big-time throw right here. This is an anticipation throw. He's anticipating Eddie Brown getting in the hole for him versus a zone coverage. 3-man rush. Watch Eddie float right in behind Donnie Wilson, and it couldn't have been a better thrown football. Danny really stuck that one.
And Ronnie Lancaster spoke about his quarterback throwing on time, and then when your offensive line gives you the time and you believe that your receiver will be there, you just let it fly with confidence.
Ball at the Argo 35, first down. Edmonton and Eric Blunt straight up the middle, and he's got 5 or 6 more. Looks like he stopped just inside the 30-yard line. Rob Waldrop, defensive tackle who's had an outstanding year, the former Outland Trophy winner out of Arizona, made the tackle. He's going in for elbow surgery following this season.
Danny's calling all the plays for Edmonton. He's got a little wristband that he refers to, and he's getting everybody involved, keeping the run game part of what he wants to do.
He's hit on his last 7 passes, and it's 2nd and 4. McManus looked right, now looks left. Over the middle he goes, and off the hands of Mark Tobert. The ball delivered high and incomplete.
I tell you, that's one that McManus would like back. He had an early check down to Eric Blunt, who was sitting in the flat, neglected to go to him, thought about it a second time, then went deep, and the ball fell incomplete.
And this will set up a 37-yard field goal attempt.
Danny's been gunning it here in the second half. He's wanting to go deep. He's found open receivers. That one got out of his hand just a little too high for Tobert.
So now Fleming will try to master the footing. He has had trouble with it so far today. And he's missed another. And away goes Jimmy Cunningham. And that side of the field opened up and then closed down on a big hit by Tony Burse. Boy, if Burse doesn't make that play, Cunningham's still running. So Sean Fleming is 0 for 3 in this 1996 Grey Cup game, and it's still the Argos by 7.
Saturday. The 1997 Grey Cup on CBC. You've got to love it.
Well, Scott, squandered points for Jimmy Cunningham, but remember, Sean Fleming now 0 for 3 on the day. Wonder if that Charlie horse is giving him problems. Here's Drummond taking that shovel pass, and Robert Drummond picks his way through a couple of tacklers out to the 35-yard line, and Drummond with the first down for Toronto. They had a couple of Argos down. Drummond slow to get up.
Chris Giaskis is the Argonaut who is down on the play, and you know, this would be a trouble spot for Toronto if they lose one of their offensive linemen. Make that Pierre Verchevel, not Giaskis, but Pierre Verchevel, who missed the first 16 games of the season with a broken ankle, and he came back to start the final game and the one playoff game, but he is down on the field being attended to by the medical staff. Dan Payne took 6th place in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul in the heavyweight wrestling division. Played with the Saskatchewan Roughriders last year at offensive tackle. Will come in and fill in for him.
With that quick hitch out to Pinball Clemens, Darian Hagan hanging on. And Clemens tackled from behind. Leroy Blue with great pursuit outside. And Clemens ended up close to the 45-yard line, which would be near a first down. Well, Doug Flutie has, as Dave Sapunja said, been playing Flutie ball in this, well, since the second quarter. And look at that pass distribution.
Well, you know how dangerous Pinball Clemens can be. If you recall, the last time these two teams met, he caught 4 successive passes in the second half.
Second down and a couple for the Argos, and they go to the fullback. Drummond stood up and nailed. No gain on the play. That's a big defensive play for the Eskimos.
You know, when it comes down to trying to pick up yardage on short yardage situations, it comes down to determination. Who's going to get lower than who in the pit? Watch the defensive line of Edmonton get off, come up underneath those big guys from Toronto, get the penetration, and meet Drummond in the backfield. That's how you play football down in the pits. That's where the football games are won and lost.
First punt since the first quarter for Vanderjagt. Gizmo plays it on the hop. And Henry Williams almost turned the corner. That's a big tackle by George Namako, the backup safety, to hold the return to 14 yards after a 42-yard punt. Guys, I'd like to say hi to Joe Woodcock, who's watching in Sarnia today, celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Sarnia Imperials Grey Cup victory. Back then, gate receipts were about $4,200. And he's still a big fan of the league, cheering for Toronto today. But David, he says there's one problem with the CFL. And Ken Austin, I hope you're listening. They just pay those quarterbacks too much money these days.
Well, when you get gate receipts like $4,200, I guess you can't pay the quarterbacks.
Well, anything might be too much for Joe because he played for nothing back in 1936. Here's Danny McManus earning his money with a strike to Darren Flutie, who has his third catch of this third quarter. Ed Berry, the tackle.
This is just Darren Flutie working the middle of the field and trying to find a hole so McManus can getting the ball. They had a hitch and go outside, or a hook and go outside with Don Blair. It didn't materialize, so Danny came back inside, Flutie floating inside and getting open.
You know, one of the things the Edmonton receivers have a great ability to do is to gauge down on their speed so that Danny McManus doesn't have to lead him too far with the football so he can gun it to that particular spot.
3:03 to go, third quarter. Here's Tony Burse off the left side, and he snowplows up to about the 53. Demetrius Maxey, first contact on the big fullback of the Eskimos.
You think about Tony Burse as a power runner, Dave, and you've played with him in San Antonio, but he has Edmonton's longest run from scrimmage this year at 59 yards.
He's got good speed. I'm telling you, he's one of the most versatile players, if not maybe the most versatile player in the league. He plays all special teams. He catches the ball out of the backfield, and if you need a tough yard, you're going to hand him the big 240.
Got 5 that time. 2nd and 5. Short drop and incomplete as Mark Tolbert, the intended receiver, double teamed, and that's Johnny Harris, one of 5 members of the Argos defensive unit that was not with Toronto in training camp.
Well, you think about Johnny Harris, he started this year off playing in the Arena Football League before being picked up by Don Matthews. And when Don brought him in, he said this guy was such a great performer in practice, he had to find a way to get him into the lineup. The Calgary game in Alberta was the first game that he had played this year, and he's been a constant contributor, actually filled in for Marcelo Simmons, who's never gotten his job back.
Glenn Harper into punt on 3rd down with Cunningham back. Cunningham fielding it close to that boundary, and he did step out at the 20 of Toronto. So a nice job by Harper to kick to the sidelines, a 37-yard punt, and a 1-yard return as Don Blair was the man who forced him out. Mark?
Chris, here's the latest from the Argo sick bay. Pierre Vercheval's injury appears worse than a hip pointer. He told me he got kneed in the back, and his whole right leg went numb. And he's still trying to get the feeling back.
And that's why Dan Payne is in along that offensive line now for the Argos. Under 2 minutes to go, third quarter. Doug Flutie and the Argonauts leading 30-23. Flutie outside, and the footing was a problem for Robert Drummond that time.
David, the tempo of the offense have not been what they were in the first half here in the third quarter. Would that have something to do with the layoff that they had in the second half? Well, at halftime?
Well, I think it has something to do with what the coaches have said to him in the locker rooms. They talked about the defensive changes they needed to make, take away some of the plays they'd been getting in the early going, and now they're just trying to give away underneath stuff, come up and make tackles.
Quebec City native, graduate of Western Ontario, back in Pierre Vercheval at left guard. 2nd and 10. There's that shovel toss. Drummond kept his footing. Nice job by Drummond to get the first down up at the Argo 39. Last game here in Hamilton for Robert Drummond, he had 176 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns against the Cats.
And I spoke with Robert about that game. He said it was his second best game of the season. His best that came in Winnipeg, but that game couldn't have came at a more important time. He had struggled late in the season. He had a tendency to put the ball on the ground, but he had caught his stride in the final game of the season, and it has carried over in the playoffs and here in the Grey Cup.
19-yard pickup for Drummond. First down. Argos near their 40. And Flutie underneath has another completion to Paul Mazzotti. And he is approaching a 100-yard game. Bruce Dixon the tackle.
And I'll tell you, every time Robert Drummond stays in the backfield, Dave, you can see the difference in the pass rush of the Edmonton Eskimos. They're not as quick in coming off the ball because of that shovel pass with him in there.
They've set that up so they know they have to guard against the shovel pass or the draw play, the direct snap. Great job of protection that time. That time, Signor Mobley came on the blitz from the outside. Willie Pless came over to pick up his coverage. The line slid out and took care of business. Flutie made the completion.
Once again, Mazzotti getting attention. He has 6 catches, 99 yards. 2nd and 1. Drummond will have the first down. And a hard man to bring to the turf. As the clock has run out in this third quarter. And after an explosive first half, just 3 points in the third quarter of play in the 84th Grey Cup game. That was a field goal by Mike Vanderjagt. And after 45 minutes at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton, the Toronto Argonauts have a 7-point lead on the
ball in the cold weather like this.
Well, in this situation, what you want to do as a quarterback is keep your hands warm. That's obviously why Doug has gone, or keep them dry. That's why he's gone to the gloves, and keep the torso warm, and you'll be fine.
So the Argos with a first down at their own 52-yard line. Flutie, that little shovel toss back inside Drummond. And Robert Drummond works his way down to the Edmonton 43. Willie Pless, Trent Brown there to make the tackle.
You talk to all coaches, regardless of where you play football at, and they'll always talk about how important the running game is at this time of the year, when you got the bad weather, when you got the wet field, when you have the snowy surface. Robert Drummond has taken control of this football game on the ground tonight.
And that's exactly what the shovel pass is a run. They're getting great blocks from their guards.
Another first down. Drummond told me he wanted this to become a power game. That's when he would be at his best. Now he takes the swing pass out of the backfield. And Drummond down near the Edmonton 35. Kavis Reed out on the corner with the tackle.
You know, one of the things that they have done in stretching this Edmonton defense from sideline to sideline is taking Willie Pless out of the game. Willie Pless, second in the CFL and third in the CFL in tackles this year, the all-time leading tackler. And you look at Drummond's stats this afternoon, catching the ball. He had 7 receptions last week versus Montreal, but he had the big one, if you recall, Chris, when he tightrope down the sideline, and he had that 33-yard reception, and he has 5 in tonight's game for 64 yards.
114 all-purpose yards for Robert Drummond so far. 2nd and 4, and it's Flutie turning the corner and getting the first down. Well, the Eskimo defense wanted the opportunity to get a shot in on Flutie.
Well, they've been feeding Drummond on the short yardage play the whole game, and here Doug just pulls it out. Fakes it, and he's got a couple people in front of him. As you see, they're pulling the backside in to get in front of him and get him a block.
Trent Brown had to close from his free safety position to make the stop on the play, but he had pulled Reggie Givens, a backup linebacker who had came in, or the linebacker who came in as a backup tight end on the play.
Flutie 68 yards rushing. Now looks over the middle. Oh, almost a great catch by Cunningham, but another drop.
Well, Jimmy's had a couple in his hands that he felt like he could get, and this one gets away from him too. It's a little high throw, but he'd probably be the first guy to tell you I should have come down with that.
Well, Doug Flutie's in pretty nice company, isn't he, as he has passed Ron Lancaster on the all-time Grey Cup list with his performance this afternoon.
And I tell you, that group of 5 right there has ignited a lot of hearts in the CFL over the years and sent a lot of joy to a lot of fans.
You could have a pretty fair debate about who's the best amongst those 5. Flutie calls his own number. Once again, Doug Flutie taking a pounding, but getting down to the 21. Derek McCready got the first hit. There's Bertie Filoni, a hero here at Ivor, Wynne.
Well, they're getting back down again to the scoring zone, and they have a tremendous feel for what Edmonton wants to do in that zone in the field. Flutie knows they're going to play some coverages that are going to turn the backs of the linebackers, get the safeties involved, splitting the field, and he's going to take advantage and run himself.
But I tell you what's so important, Dave, is that when they've gotten down there, is that Edmonton hasn't folded the tent and allowed Toronto to get into the end zone. They've been able to bow up their back, stop them, and force Vanderjet to come into the game. And Ken Austin mentioned it earlier. You'd rather give up 3 than give up 7 defensively.
28-yard field goal attempt. It is 3rd and 3, so Vanderjet's number is called. And Mike Vanderjet, the kid from Oakville, is having himself an evening in the Grey Cup game. Vanderjet has given the Argos a 33-23 lead with 11:54 to play in the 4th quarter at Ivor, Wynne.
Don has his finger on the pulse of this country like no one I have ever met.
I'm telling you to shut up.
What drove this career minor leaguer to become Mr. Hockey? The Life and Times of Don Cherry, Sunday night at 10 on CBC.
Early in the 4th quarter, it's Toronto by 10, thanks in large part, Kent, to the work of Robert Drummond. He's the workhorse now.
Yeah, they've run this shovel pass quite a bit here in the second half, and I'll tell you, Robert Drummond's similar to a lot of great backs, and that is they get stronger as the game goes on. That's what's happening here.
Dave, how about his footing?
Oh, great footing. I think he has different cleats than everyone else. Who knows? But great athletic ability to stay up, and whether he's running the ball up the middle or it's a shovel pass, he's getting the job done.
Chris, it was Jimmy the Jet in the first half, Robert Drummond in the second half.
Sure is. Speaking of his athletic ability, he was telling me the other day he ran a 10-3 100 meters as a sophomore in high school. His cousin John Drummond of the U.S. relay team, and he admitted he took some ribbing from his Canadian teammates after the Olympic results. There's Mark Tobert on that end around for the Eskimos, and he's taken down near the 40-yard line. That's a gain of 5 as Demetrius Maxey, in pursuit of Tobert, made the tackle.
And that's one of the things about this Toronto defense is they set up the reverse with Tobert, is the great pursuit. Demetrius Maxey is playing tackle in this game where he had played end for most of the season with the Argos, but great pursuit down the line of scrimmage to make the tackle.
Well, it's getting to crunch time for the Eskimos, now down by 10. 2nd and 5. McManus over the middle, and looks like it's going to be ruled a catch by the sure-handed Darren Flutie.
And Darren is in a lot of pain.
It's a key catch for Darren because someone's clean. Looks like Gibbons comes clean on McManus. He sees him coming. He waits, and he allows Flutie to come underneath the coverage. Here's Darren Flutie, matched up man-to-man, breaks inside. Ed Berry trying to get there, but the ball's thrown down low, and Darren goes down and catches it.
And that's a point that Ken Austin had made earlier. They would like to get Darren Flutie matched one-on-one with Ed Berry.
It's a first down, Edmonton, at the Eskimo 46. McManus, blunt, nailed immediately. Great defensive play there by Ken Benson, the quiet man amongst the linebackers for the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, it's hard to get a word out of Ken Benson edgewise. You think about it, he led the CFL in tackles back in 1993, played last season in Baltimore with Don Matthews, actually started out and played the first game this season with Montreal prior to being released, but Don Matthews knew what he had in Ken Benson, scooped him up off the waiver wire, and he's been a starter ever since in Toronto.
Only a yard on that reception, so 2nd and 9. McManus, good protection. Eddie Brown, crossing pattern, first down, as Eddie Brown makes his presence felt again in this second half.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussions about Eddie Brown coming over the middle. A lot of people say he won't come over the middle and catch the football. He's come over the middle several times for me in the past, and here he is coming over the middle for McManus. Underneath the coverage, makes a catch, and now Eddie does a smart thing here. He has a chance to turn it down and maybe lose some ground to make a big play. He realizes he needs to make sure he has the first down, and he goes upfield.
But, David, in a game of this magnitude, everybody wants to make the big play.
It's at the Argo 48 after that 16-yard pickup, and McManus going to Brown again. And he's at the 25-yard line.
Well, this is the key now. Now, he's got Eddie Brown in the game. We talked about it early in the game. If you get Eddie involved, suddenly his focus changes, and he feels like, hey, I'm a guy that's going to make something happen. He gets a couple of balls thrown. He's had one thrown to him earlier in this half. Now he's made 2 big plays in this drive. You get that guy involved with his mindset, he can really make some things happen.
David, you really have to appreciate the job that the offensive line is doing. Danny McManus is not even concerned with the Toronto pass rush.
8:20 to go. First down, Edmonton. Goes wide side. Tolbert has the catch and another first down. Ed Berry wrestled him out of bounds. The U of Alberta product with the catch.
And David, he's working from sideline to sideline. What does that create the problem for in a defensive secondary?
Well, they're just playing a zone here, and everybody is getting into the holes that they need to get into. This time, Tolbert stays outside because he sees the halfback sitting inside Ed Berry. McManus reads it, throws the ball wide, and Tolbert picks up a first down.
An impressive march for the Eskimos, and it's first and goal. The ball just inside the 10-yard line. Here comes the heat. McManus over the middle. I don't think Tony Burse expected the football. Down he goes at the 5.
I don't think he expected the football, but I don't think he expected for Benson to be riding him as soon as the football got there. It could have easily been a pass interference on the play because Ken Benson was clearly there prior to Tony Burse making the catch on the football. McManus sitting back, getting a late pressure, but he's staying in the pocket, getting the ball away.
Well, that ball was not intended for Tony Burse. That ball was intended for Jim Sandusky coming inside, and Burse just happened to sit down and turned around and caught the football.
Second and goal from the 5. Blunt takes the pitch. Eric Blunt near the goal line, touchdown.
Eric Blunt takes the toss, gets great blocking there. You see Lachey getting washed by the play, and then Eric, with his ability to run, stays low center of gravity and plays off the block, or plays off the hit to score.
That is the search series. That is a staple play in every CFL offensive arsenal, but Eric Blunt runs it so well. He reads the block of the offensive lineman, but the surge up front to get him in for 6.
Fleming adds the extra point. It's a 3-point game again with 6:57 to play in the 4th quarter. What a drive by the Eskimos.